Good afternoon and good morning to those of you who are out west. Welcome to today's demo cast from the construction specifier in Deltek. My name is Tristan. I'm the associate editor for the construction specifier, and I'll be moderating today's presentation. Just to cover a few housekeeping items before we get started. If you have any questions during today's demo cast, please enter them using the Q&A section, which you can find at the bottom of your Zoom window. We will address as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. And while Zoom does have a raise hand function, we will be keeping everyone's mics muted, so please only use the Q&A instead. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties during the demo cast, you can enter a message in our chat, which you'll find right next to the Q&A, and we will do our best to help you. Today's demo cast is being recorded and will be available on the construction specifier's website by this time next week. Now, I'd like to introduce our guest, Jeff Potter, who will present a pre-recorded demonstration. Jeff graduated from North Dakota State University in 2013 and started his specifications career in 2015 at HMC Architects. It didn't take long for Jeff to fall in love with specifications and the world of architecture, ultimately becoming the head specifier at HMC Architects. Jeff currently works at Deltek as a specifications solutions product manager, helping to shift the industry towards a revolutionary approach to specification. As today's projects become increasingly more complex, teams that embrace assembly-driven design see improved communication, better project coordination, and higher quality projects. In this session, Jeff will demonstrate how SpecPoint, home of AIA Master Spec, takes specifications to a new level with the research map that uses data to specify assemblies, resulting in smarter product choices, better team coordination, and happier customers. Jeff, we appreciate you for joining us today. Please proceed with your demo.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's presentation, Keys to Using Data to Drive Better Decisions. As today's projects become increasingly more complex, teams that embrace assembly-driven design see improved communication, better project coordination, and higher quality projects. In this session, you will learn how SpecPoint, home of the AIA Master Spec, takes specifications to a new level with the project research map that uses data to specify assemblies, resulting in better product choices, enhanced specification, and wait for it, happier customers. Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Potter, Specification Solutions Product Manager here at Deltek. Let's dive in. So what are the current challenges with this specifying process that we're using to date? Well, the current specification process is one that hasn't changed much the past several decades. Yes, you might have revised certain processes within your firm to become more efficient in certain ways, but I guarantee you, you're still trying to tackle these challenges that I'm listing out. This out-of-date or inaccurate product information, trying to maintain masters is a huge task to a specifier. Trust me, I've been there as a past specifier. I know how much time and energy goes into keeping masters up to date. And because it's non-billable, it's always a balance, right, of figuring out your billable hours versus what you can do non-billable. We've also had this absence of historical data, right? We can't look back at past projects, see what's been used and make design decisions or specifying decisions off of that. And then we have this individualistic component thinking that just is not working with specifications anymore. So like I mentioned, it's extremely difficult for architects and engineers and specifiers to stay on top of product information and keep their specifications up to date with the latest information. Before SpecPoint, like I mentioned, the data wasn't there, right? Architects and engineers are not making, and specifiers are not making data-driven decisions. And finally, let me ask you this question. When you're detailing something, are you detailing assemblies or are you detailing components? I would argue that you're detailing individual components in an assembly. So when it comes time to specifications, then you have to translate that assembly into individual sections, making sure that you have everything covered for that assembly. If you have a weather-resistant barrier across multiple assemblies under many different facade types, you've got to make sure that specification fits all of those assemblies, right? You've got to make sure the transitions are covered. You've got to make sure, like, if you've got a open joint cladding system, that weather resistant barrier, like you're not seeing white through the joints, or it's UV stable, right? So this assembly design that SpecPoint has makes this much easier. So with SpecPoint, we can provide solutions to these challenges. So improving the specifying process. Within SpecPoint, we have the project research map where you can research past projects for better decisions when it comes to specifying on future projects. SpecPoint was designed around assemblies. It connects master format sections to uniformat assemblies. So you can make that translation from your details to the specifications relatively easily, right? So with this product research map, product card library, and assembly method design, you could start evidence-based specifying, which is essentially using data to make decisions about assemblies and products you will specify on a project. So without further ado, let's begin this demo and see how SpecPoint can be a solution for you. So I've got SpecPoint open here. And when you log into SpecPoint, it immediately takes you to the project research map. And so if I real quick clear all my previous search filters, you can see all the projects in SpecPoint. You can even narrow this down by your current SpecPoint projects, but you can see all the projects across the world: South Africa, Australia, India, United States, Canada, Mexico. Pretty amazing, right? I think even in Hawaii right there. So for the sake of this demo, I'm a specifier and I'm working on a gymnasium. And so I want to know what past decisions my firm has made on previous gym projects. Say I'm working with a project team and another project team is maybe halfway through construction documents and is working on their gym, or it's wrapping up construction. And I want to know what they specified, because in my mind, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. If I can bring over details, if I can bring over certain specifications, make sure that everything is good before I use them, obviously. But if they did a lot of the research, why do I need to do that again, right? So let's search gyms, right? And let's say my project is in California, because that's where I'm based out of. So I'm going to go to building type, right? And I'm going to go to gymnasium, and this is alphabetical. And then we're going to do state, California. So I'm going to hit apply all, and you can see 4 projects. Perfect. And on my to-do list today as a specifier, I need to work on the plaster section, the roofing section, the sheathing section, and the gypboard section. So I'm going to research all those real quick. And so let's say this is the project right here that the team was working on that I need to get history from. So when you click on that, you can see all of the sections, 81 families to be exact, that are in this project. So you can see when it was last updated, you can see your construction budget, family sources, whether that's imported from document, master spec, full length, custom office master, or some other type of source, right? And then you can see the sustainability requirement. You can search by listed manufacturers. You can see if the manufacturer has been specified or not. You can search family name, family source. So let's start with the plaster first. And specifically the finish code. Do I want a cementitious, or do I want an acrylic, right? And you can see that when I pop open that family, I get the manufacturer, if it was specified, and the product type, right? And okay, acrylic. And so go through, and I can go down by product types, and I can see all the metal accessories that have been specified, all the manufacturers that have been specified. And oh, wow, perfect. Acrylic-based finish coatings. That's what they used, and say this is the same district again. Perfect, I want to use acrylic-based. And what is specified? Oh, perfect. We got Master Wall, BASF, Omega, Synergy. Perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for, right? So I take note of that. Next is roofing. I don't know what type of roof I want to use, but maybe I want to see what the past project has used, whether it was PVC, TPO, built up, maybe even a metal panel. Who knows? Maybe going fancy. Let's see here. Let's go down to that family. And again, as a previous specifier, I'm, you know my family's in and out, but let's pop open the PVC and see what they did. And let's again, search by product type. So we'll go down and see, oh, cool, they did a type 3. And so let's say I've had some conversation back and forth. Let's say the gym is under or is completed construction and they went with Sika. Oh, perfect. Sika was specified. Doesn't need to be a substitution request later on, anything like that. Perfect. I'm going to specify Sika type 3. And if I want to see other information, I can certainly see that as well, right? And let's go to sheathing real quick, because I want to know, what did they specify? Did they do wood? Did they do gypsum? So I pull that up and say, oh, perfect. They did gypsum sheathing and they specified all the pretty much popular manufacturers, right? Perfect. And then lastly, chipboard. I want to see what they did for chipboard, because maybe I'm deciding between, because it's a gym, maybe high impact, high abuse, or maybe I just need type X or regular chipboard, or maybe even a mold resistant in the restrooms. But let me see. Let me go to the chipboard spec. Let me pop that open. Perfect. And I can see that they just did interior chipboard. And I can see that they did all the typical manufacturers. Perfect. Awesome. So I've taken note of everything that I just learned from the project research map. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that information and I'm going to go over to my project, right? And it's Lincoln High School Gymnasium. I'm going to open that up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the workspace. I'm going to go plaster walls. And as you can see, if I real quick, you can see the project elements, right? These are all the uniformat assemblies. And this is how SpecPoint is designed. You can expand each assembly and it breaks it down into the families, which breaks it down even more into product types. This is extremely helpful. If I don't know the assemblies, I can search. It's a really great search function. Or if I just want to look at categories, I can look categories, right? Casework, conduits, doors, perfect. And I'll get into that in a bit. But let me go back to all categories. So I'm working on plaster first, right? And so let me go to the exterior wall assembly. Let me go down to exterior wall veneer and plaster, perfect. So let me go down to, oh, there's my family right there. Let me open that up and you can see all of the product types that I've done. And so let me remove this real quick so that we can start fresh. So this is the cement plaster finish coats, right? And this is what this paragraph is. It's not in my project yet, but as you can see, we've got everything here, right? So I know I want cement plaster finish coats, right? That's part of the typical three coat plaster out here in California. So I'm going to add that to my project. Perfect. So it's populated. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up here, view products. And this is going to show me all the listing types in this section, which is pretty awesome. And so the one that I was interested, right, was the Finestone BASF, now Master Builder Solutions. So I'm going to add that to my project. And when it's added, you'll see a little green icon, or it's outlined in green. Perfect, right there, right? So let me scroll down more just to show everybody else what's down here. Quite a bit of listings, right? So I'm going to exit out. And what that did is that highlighted BASF for me. That's pretty nice, isn't it? And so if we go to preview here real quick, I'll show you the preview. And this was article 2.4. You can see Finestone BASF is specified. Perfect, right? I obviously have more choices to make, which I'll work on later in the day, right? But that's perfect. So my next one is roofing, right? And say I don't understand or I don't know where roofing would be in all of this. and what assembly it would be, right? So I'm going to minimize this just to kind of shrink things up a little bit. But say I don't know roofing, right? I'm up here, I'm trying to go through it, and I just don't see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to the project categories, and I'm going to select roofs. And I can see, oh, perfect, roofs has already been added. So I'm going to go to the roofing assembly, not necessarily the construction. And I know I want a PVC roof, so I'm going to go to low slope. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to single ply membrane systems. And voila, it shows all the families under that assembly. And so I want the PVC. So I'm going to go ahead and add the project. And then what I'm going to do is, because I know I want type 3, I'm going to go down here to fabric backed. I'm going to populate this real quick, add to project, and well, let's change that manufacturer. Let's go with Johns Manville, right? And so let me view products. And I can see all of the products, right? So let me do Johns Manville. Perfect. So as you can see, Johns Manville has been selected. So let's move on to sheathing, right? So let's say I don't know where sheathing is, but I know I'm talking about the sheathing underneath the plaster assembly. So let me go ahead and search sheathing in all categories. So let's see, so type in sheathing and we have everything here, right? And let's see, foundation walls, sheathing repair tape. I'm really interested in sheathing under the plaster assembly, right? No, this is foundation under walls. Let's see, slab on grade. Let me go to added project. Perfect, sheathing. Air barrier and water resistant glass sheathing board. And this is the decision maybe that someone else made on the team, right? And so let's go ahead and use that. Let's go to view products. And I just need to quickly specify. Let's do the Secure Rock XO Air 430. So I'm going to add this to my project, but maybe I want it as a basis of design actually. So I'm going to make it my basis of design. And so what that does is now that makes it as a basis of design. Perfect, right? It already made the edits for me. Everything is good to go. So the last piece that I'm working on is the gypsum board. And so with the gypsum board, I'm talking about maybe the interior partition wall. So let's go to interior partitions, which is it in my project. And I haven't added it yet. So let me go to project. Let me go to interior wall again, interior partitions, fixed partitions, metal stud. And let me add the gypboard. So I'll add this to project. And let's say I want to do type X, right? So here's type X. Let me add type X to the project. Let me view products. Let's say I want to, do, is there certainty? Let's go with certainty. So I've added certainty to my project, and maybe I want to do another type of type X here. So let me filter by manufacturers. Say I'm looking for type X from USG. And let's do the EcoSmart, because that's what I'm familiar with in the past. That's maybe what the other project team used through separate conversations. And as you can see, I've got certainty type X and I've got USG type X. And so essentially, I just use the project research map to make decisions on what I need to specify for this project, which made things really easy, right? I didn't have to go through a 1,000-page project manual to see what was specified. I didn't really have to contact the team too much, maybe to see what was specified. I had everything in one place, right? I found the data and I use it to make a specification choice. So with that being said, are there any questions today? Are there any questions?
Thank you, Jeff, for this excellent presentation. As he mentioned, yeah, there are some times for questions now. Just open the Q&A, which you'll find located at the bottom of your Zoom window, and post your questions there. And we actually already have a few coming in, so we'll get started. This first question asks, when you were doing your presentation, this person noted that you did not consider construction type when you started your evaluation. What do you do with that system in the program?
Yeah, so there is a parameter with construction type that we have when you create your project. So that is definitely a consideration that affects a lot of families and design choices that you will need. I guess the reason why it wasn't considered was because in my mind, if you are working on a project that is essentially a duplicate of another project that's been done in the past, the construction type stays the same.
Okay, another question asks, how can a person selecting the product know whether it will provide the performance required for a project or not?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with the product cards, you will be able to select on a product card and view the properties of it. You know, they're kind of a replacement for the cut sheet, if you will. We will have future capability to take those properties of that product and basically populate the family with them. But it still is right now a little bit of the manual research required to verify the performance requirements meet what you are looking for.
Another question asks here, how do Revit models and families or components get tied to spec point?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So that is a future capability that we are currently working on now. If you are familiar with eSpecs and how eSpecs works with Revit and families, the phase one will be very similar. Phase two is quite a bit more, but initially, yeah, it will be a very similar function to eSpecs.
Another question here asks, what is the status of the 2022 functionality rollout, which you kind of mentioned already with that last question.
Yeah.
This question asks specifically about Office Masters, custom headers, and similar functions.
Yeah, so we will have at the end of Q2, so June, we will have style guides ready so that you can use your own personal style guides, and we will have an import function slated potentially for later this year is BIM integration, a custom Office master library module, and the best practices module, which is essentially part of the custom Office master library module. Just a little bit different component of it, a little bit different feature set.
Another question asks, can spec points be used in conjunction with the maintenance of Office Master specifications? That is to say, can firm-wide knowledge be maintained within spec points and updates made to master spec masters be incorporated without losing any Office-specific language?
Yeah, so that will be a function that will be available later this year. You'll be able to use the best practices and the what I'm calling the studio management module, which is a custom office library, to be able to maintain all of that and still be able to receive master spec updates.
Another question asks, will it ever be possible to copy a section from one project to another?
That's a really good question. That I'll have to get back to you on that one. I don't think that is on our current roadmap right now, but it is definitely an idea that we can consider.
And a question here asks, once you have populated a list of assemblies, will SpecPoint be able to generate a printout of the assembly list as organized by the uniformat code?
Eventually, yes, that is on the roadmap as well. There will be some type of export that will be assembly based. As of right now, it is only master format, typical project manual formatting.
A question here asks, at what point does the master spec quarterly update cease and only SpecPoint will be available? Is that something in the future?
Yes, future.
Will the Office Master Library function in SpecPoint if it wasn't created from master spec, or will there be a coding of paragraphs required for that?
Yeah, so it will function with custom Office masters, as I like to say, so they don't have to be tied back to master spec in any way. You can use your custom Office masters, import them into your SpecPoint library, and pretty much be ready to use them from the start.
Another question asks, will the system be able to accommodate specific local requirements, such as Florida product approvals, for example?
Yeah, so that would be kind of two parts. So that would tie into best practices, our best practices feature that can help that. And then also parameters as well. When you create a project, we have a kind of an array of parameters that you get to set. And in the future, probably next year, 2023 sometime, there'll be an availability for custom parameters when creating your project.
And a question here follows up on an earlier answer you gave. Will SpecPoint function better if the Office masters are recreated in SpecPoint as opposed to inputting existing Office masters?
Yeah, so right now, you would just import those masters, and that would be my recommendation, is to import and not necessarily start fresh, being that if you have a large master library, that would take some time, and the functionality would be essentially the exact same.
And a question here asks, what exactly is a master spec approved manufacturer?
Yeah, so that basically means that the manufacturer and their products have been evaluated by our internal teams and are therefore meet the requirements to be listed in the master spec.
My question here asks, what is the cost over time for the service? And is it offered on a per project basis or a total yearly fee?
Yeah, so if that person, I know it's anonymous, but if that person wants to email separately, we can shoot over the cost to you.
Another follow-up to an earlier question asks, if someone's Office masters are pre-edited track changes, master spec sections, will those track changes survive and be visible in SpecPoint after inputting it in there?
That is a really good question. That would be an idea. Initial thought would be, no, you would have to accept those track changes. But that is something that I can definitely consider.
Okay, well, thank you, Ryan, and thanks to everyone else who joined us today. Right now, that's all the time we have for questions, but if you need to reach out with any additional questions, the presenter's contact information is currently there up on the screen. Just as a reminder before everyone leaves, if you'd like to rewatch today's presentation or share it with a colleague, we will be emailing the link of the recording to everyone who registered for the demo cast within the week. So keep an eye out on your inbox for that. Finally, after you shut down Zoom, you'll be taken to a survey to provide feedback on your experience today. Please take a moment to complete the survey as it helps us to continue to serve your needs in the future. On behalf of the construction specifier and Deltek, thank you again for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day.